Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. In this episode, I love the title of this episode. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And yes, I have taken that from Bruce Almighty. Why not? Because we're going to talk about a cookie-free world. And when I was thinking of headlines, I won't say plagiarized it, but I took it from Bruce Almighty. So credit to Bruce Almighty and whichever picture that was for that title on that line. But before we begin, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. If you're listening and you're a new listener, please subscribe. If you're an existing listener, we thank you and love you for your support. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell notification. Our episodes come out every Tuesday on new topics. And we're going to be talking about cookies, which are not actual cookies that you eat, online cookies, because again, part of my digital marketing trends for 2023, the other top 3 one was a cookie-free world. So that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. I don't have the tash to do that, as he did in Bruce Almighty, which I thought was quite a funny film. But for those who don't know what a cookie is, we've all come across it. It's that little piece of code that identifies us online to cater for our basically future content and simply monitor user activity. For years and years and years, brands, companies, even us, some of the tactics we use as part of the marketing strategies, use these cookies, have relied on them as part of the user journey. More recently, cookies have kind of left what we call a sour taste in consumers' minds because of GDPR. A lot of revelations about how cookies and data and personal data and user data was used, specifically in stuff like Brexit, and how it was used with, I forget the name of the company, actually. It's been that long. But there was a Netflix series about it. And then there was all the Netflix series about social media and how your data is used and how you're tracked online. And you know this, if you ever type in a holiday on Skyscanner or TripAdvisor, or you search for a product, you then see that product online or on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you go, back retargeting you with a specific offer. It doesn't even have to be a product of like travel or product you're buying. It could be a service you're interested in because you work in that industry. We know so much information about you that we utilize that information because you're in what I call a purchase journey, behavioral purchase journey. It's all about consumer behavior, this. And your behavior online dictates when you're ripe for sale. That might sound like an interesting word, but you're ripe for a sale. It's like when you get a fruit, you wait until it's ripe, then you eat it. We're waiting for you to be ripe enough to really encourage you to buy or follow up and learn more, or request that demo, or request a callback, or buy or complete that purchase of that product, or finally commit and book that holiday. And that comes through tools like retargeting and lookalike audiences, etc. And it's all from data in terms of what you do online, the websites you view. So, for example, if you're going on holiday in Europe somewhere, let's take Lisbon, for example, you'll be looking at things to do in Lisbon. You'll be looking at temperatures in Lisbon, weather, when's the best time to travel, what's the food like, what's the cost of hotels, what's the cost of travel. Your searching, your behavior online is all about that specific element. And because we know so much about you and when you're likely to purchase stuff, because there's so much data from people like MasterCard and external data that you don't even realize. We see when you're more likely to buy or what time of the month you're most likely to make big expenditures or small expenditures. And it goes back to my previous episode, a couple of episodes ago, in terms of AI and how that kind of tech is used to determine marketing and how you see specific ads, etc. It all comes back down to that. Come kind of like full circle, essentially. So it's really, really important because that's what it does. But Google announced, and this is why we're talking about this, is Google announced that they'll be phasing out third-party cookies from Chrome browsers by 2022. So it's really, really important because we're coming into what we call a cookie-free world. And what are these bigger companies going to do? Because retargeting can't be done on behavior anymore. It has to be done on geolocation or contextual targeting, which I'll get into a bit more detail. So Chrome, just to get back to the point, Chrome will still allow the collection of first-party cookies used for like web analytics and the likes. And it is important to understand that this is highly unlikely to dissipate any soon. However, third-party cookies, the ones that allow third parties to target adverts on external sites, will be prohibited, which is no wonder why countries are imposing serious clampdowns on third-party cookies. What does this mean to you and your digital activity? Well, we talked about behavioral and contextual and I call it demographic targeting. So there's three ways which you can run a campaign. You can target people demographically. So we could talking about age, gender, location, things like job title, things like income range, etc. Basic demographics is a household composition, elements like that. So that's what we know about you if you fit into a certain bracket based on the information you might have given to a platform or, when you're applying for a mortgage and stuff like that, etc. Then you've got contextual, which is really, really important. Contextual is all about the content which you're consuming. It's all about so context is king essentially. So it's looking at, well, are they reading an article about this particular element? For example, am I reading an article about Web3? Am I reading an article about ChatGPT? For example, am I reading an article about, the financial economical situation? It doesn't matter what I'm reading. It's all about the context of what I'm reading. And within that context, it's relevant. So, for example, I gave earlier is travel to Lisbon. What is Lisbon like for a place to live and work or set up a business, for example? And the same thing happened when I was looking at stuff about Dubai. And everybody knows I've been to Dubai. Everybody knows I'm out there. And I am hounded with ads around Dubai, living there, moving there, business opportunities there, the benefits elements there. I still get them to now because a lot of the context I'm viewing is like, well, what can I do? Can I do this in Dubai? Can I do that in Dubai? And that's just from my search history and the websites that I go on to. Is the context. Then there's what we call behavioral, which is a bit more harder to kind of explain. It's our behavioral patterns of what we do, the platforms we use. So even though we're viewing certain context, behaviorally, we won't just spend all our time looking at that specific context. We'll then go onto our app. We'll go onto Facebook. We'll go on social media. We'll go on skysports.com and look at the latest Premier League results. And I don't want to talk about last weekend's results because I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm really upset. So it looks at your online behavior in terms of what you do. And behavior and context, two things. Context is the content in which you're viewing and looking at. Behavior in terms of how you're behaving online, essentially. What you're doing, where you're going. And that's where tools like retargeting work quite well, because you might have viewed context about traveling to Lisbon or to Dubai, but behaviorally we're seeing where do you go and spend the rest of your time. And then the third party comes in and then says, right, we know you're interested in this, so we're going to put this ad on skysports.com whilst you're looking at the latest results because that's of interest to you. Now, that poses a problem for people like me as an agency in terms of what we can do, but what we're already doing is exploring different elements, and that's why I talk about three things: behavioral, contextual, and demographic, because that's all you can do. So what can you do? What impact does it have? What does this mean in terms of digital activities? It means we're going to move away from behavioral targeting to contextual and what we call geo-demographic targeting as a new trend. An example is the New York Times moved away from behavioral advertising within Europe and back towards contextual and geolocated advertising. Now, despite this shift, the publication reported no reduction in advertising revenues. So it's positive outlook moving away because behavioral performs better. Now, you might think right now that actually behavioral marketing is doing really well and delivering me a better return on investment through display or whatever tactic you're doing. Well, fine. But continue to do that. By all means, continue to do that. But you need to plan for the future. What happens when we do that? And a lot of the last two episodes, live video, AI, live, chat GPT, it's all about planning for the future, new tech, new ways of doing things, and how you can start introducing that now. It's all about educating you about what's coming up. The more you start planning now, the better you will be served in the future. It's as simple as that. So what does this mean for your 2023 strategy? What can you do? So I strongly recommend adapting to a post-cookie world because it's going to happen. Google tends to be a bit slower than they normally are in terms of rolling out updates. Now, we haven't had a significant update of when that's happening, although that will have an announcement in 2023 so far. But there's a lot of things you can do. First thing you can do is brushing up on your ad testing skills. So test ads and campaigns, not just towards behavioral targeting, but add in contextual and demographic targeting, and maybe run an A/B test behavioral against contextual and demographic advertising, or split all three out, or have multiples of one or the other, maybe individually as, ads towards just, geolocation demographics, ads just towards contextuals, or ads just towards behavioral, and then group things. So do behavioral and contextual, do behavioral and demographic, do contextual and demographic as well. So, you can mix things up, test, and test different ads to different elements. And this is where ad creation is going to be key. So the better you are, the more creative you are in terms of ad creation, headlines, and descriptions against that specific campaign type is going to be more difficult. You need to start investing in more first-party data, more than third-party data. And that means building your own first-party data in-house of your customers and who they are. You're going to have to try and capture that better on your website, that first-party data, when people visit, and entice them with offers, subscriptions, free gifts, whatever it is. Get them to sign up to your newsletter. Track that first-party data as best as you can. You need to start doing more market research around your industry, your ideal customer base, user journey. What are they doing? Because as you move towards contextual and demographic, you need to learn more about, well, who is your customer? A lot of that's going to come from first-party data in terms of looking at your analytics, in terms of what their age, demographic, location, etc. Because this is the raw information you're going to have to take from GA and put into your actual campaign. But also, what is the trend and what kind of content they're viewing within that specific sphere? Now, it's easier if you're e-commerce or your travel or your specific industry, because, if you're looking for anything on about travel, it makes sense. But for more niche, more difficult, more B2B industries, as I say, it's going to be a lot more difficult to target directly. You're going to do a lot more marketing. You're going to have to do a lot more market research into these elements. So a lot more time needs to be invested into that. You're going to have to create more partnerships in marketing to leverage customer base and data specifically. So that's something you're going to have to start doing. So start thinking who else complements what you do in the industry and how, you can partner with said brands in that way. And again, begin testing contextual targeting, as I highlighted. That's going to be your key marketing activity in end of 2023, 2024 and beyond. We're already doing it. We're already looking at it. We're already looking at elements of part of our strategy and what we're doing for our clients, specifically across like more display campaigns and elements like that will be more contextually focused. And not until I see a significant trend or update within the industry will I know essentially what's next. Will cookies be replaced by something else that is similar to third party cookie tracking? I don't know. I don't have the answer yet. But what you can guarantee is as soon as we have more insights and more data, we'll be back on this podcast and we'll be sharing it with you. And that's the whole benefit of Bobble Pod, is that, we don't just tell you what to do. We actually practice and preach it and test it ourselves and then give our feedback as well. So that's the way the cookie crumbles, everybody. Cookies are going to go. Tracking's going to go. There's a lot of elements you need to do that. I gave a list of things you can start with straight away. And again, these are things that we're doing. So I'm not telling you to do something that we're not doing. I'm telling you to do things based on what our data and insights are showing that you can start to begin with and start playing with. A bit of a short, simple podcast, not as long as some of our other ones, but our next two episodes involve two amazing guests from agency owners, Adam from Force 24 and Andy from Ascensa as well. So it'd be good to get other expert insights in terms of what's going on. So keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Our episodes come out every Tuesday in the morning for you to listen to. You can listen to them on the commute to work. You can listen to, on your break, etc. The idea is that, you can listen to it, or you can watch it on YouTube in your own time. So don't forget to like and follow us on that. And as always, I'm Mr. Bobble. I don't really talk about maybe Mr. Bobble on the podcast much, but it kind of goes without saying. Don't forget to, connect with us on social media at Bobble Digital. Use the hashtag Mr. Bobble or Ask Bobble for any specific questions. Do send questions through. You can visit us on www.bobblepod.co.uk or www.bobbledigital.com. Reach out to myself on LinkedIn, connect, ask me any questions. If there's anything you want to see or update or hear in the coming weeks, we've got a lot of content planned. We can try and prioritize them based on what your needs are. Your feedback is always good. And thank you to the person who reached out that said they love my English accent. I'm guessing you were American, based on location of where your email came from. Thank you. I'm glad that my British voice is soothing and toning. I did not know that. I thought I had a typical Yorkshire accent, but that's what a Yorkshire accent sounds like. Thank you for everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on our next episode.